Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at how we can test output that is printed in the console. So we're going to be testing this say hello method, right? So what this method will do is it will print out hello and whatever name you pass into this parameter. So for instance, we would expect an output like this. It will say hello and then whatever name you pass in here. So let's test the code. So we're going to go to our test code and then we're going to import the namespace code. Why are we doing that? It is because we need to have access to this class coding, and inside this class we need to have access to the say hello method inside our test code. So that is why we're importing this namespace in our test code. And then another thing we need to import is system, right? System will enable us to have access to console, right? So specifically to the console output, right? Because we need to have access to the console output in order to compare what is printed out on the console with what we expect. And then lastly, we need to import system.io, right? System.io will enable us to have access to string writer, as you will see when we're writing our test. So let's write our test. So the first thing we're going to do is create a string writer object. String writer equals new string writer, right? So this comes from system.io. Let's import right here, and if we remove it, we will immediately get an error. So we need the system.io import. Okay, and then we need console.setOut, right? And then we're gonna pass in writer. Okay, now we need to create an instance of the coding class, right, in order to have access to say hello method, in order to call the say hello method. So you're gonna say coding code equals new coding, right? And then we're gonna say code dot say hello and then pass in fallen. Okay, now that we've called this method, right, we need to check the output of this method. Remember that this method is to print out hello and whatever name you pass in here, and in this instance we passed in fallen, so it should say hello fallen, right? That's the output we expect. Okay, so we're gonna use the assertion in order to test for this. So we're gonna say assertion assert dot equal, and then what we are expecting is hello fallen, and we're gonna test for what? For the output in our terminal, what we get in the terminal. So we're gonna say writer dot to string, and this will effectively give us whatever is printed on the terminal, right? So this is where we fetch the output from the console, and then we're going to compare it with this, right? Hello comma fallen, right? Okay, now let's run the test. So we're going to say .NET test. As you can see that our test is failing, right? It is failing. Why? Because we expected hello fallen, but we got nothing. Nothing was printed on the console. Why is this? Let's go back to our function. So in our function, as you can see that we didn't write any code. We didn't implement any code, right? This is why we are getting the error that we got on the terminal. So we need to print the code. So we're going to say console. We need to implement the code, sorry. We're going to say console.writeLine, and we're going to say hello, comma, and then we're going to put a 0 here in parentheses, or rather curly braces. In curly braces, this will stand for name. Okay, so this line right here will print hello and whatever name is here, and it will print it on the console, and then our test is going to fetch whatever is printed in the console, right, and then compare it with our assertions. Now let's run the terminal. .NET test. Okay, as you can see, we're still failing, right? The test is still failing. So we're expecting hello fallen, but now we're getting hello fallen and a next line. So remember that coding, remember that console.writeLine prints and then moves the cursor to the next line, right? So we need to cater for that as well. We need to cater for that in our test as well. So when we're comparing what we're expecting, we need to account for the fact that console.writeLine also adds in the next line. So you need to add the next line here like so. And then when you run your test now, everything should pass. Sorry, .NET test. As you can see now, our test is passing, right? Okay, so what is happening here is that whatever we're printing to the console, right, we are fetching using the string writer and console.setOut, right? These two lines here allow us to fetch whatever output is printed on the console, and then we are able to compare it with whatever we expect it to be. For example, if we changed this right here from fallen to world, right, we should expect our test to fail now, because what is printed on the console will be hello world, but what we are expecting is hello fallen. So let's run this. As you can see, what we're expecting is hello fallen, but what is now printed on the console is hello world, right? So that is how you test the console.writeLine or whatever is printed on the terminal. This is how you fetch the output using string writer and console.setOut. You need these two lines right here, and then you can compare the output that you're expecting with writer.toString. Remember, you need to say writer.toString, and then you can say colon, and then you can run .NET test. Okay, so I hope that this video was helpful. Please like and subscribe.